Hello, my name's Kevin Brooke, and I'm a story knight, a knight who tells stories. The last time I read a piece from my book, Max Luchia, The Game Makers. Do you remember? Max had done an amazing thing. He just saved a man's life. And I suggested that maybe you'd want to tell me what you thought might happen next by drawing an illustration or writing some words or maybe even creating a story of your own. It's up to you. But for now, I'll let you know what actually happened next. It was as though the entire street was recovering from shock. I first realised the world was getting back to normal when the woman in the red and white striped apron hobbled towards me. "You're a hero!" she shouted. "You're a hero!" The spiky-haired man put one hand on my shoulder and shook my hand with the other. "Thank you," he said, squeezing it so tightly I thought my fingers might break. "I just want to help," I replied. Moments later, the first of the sirens started to sound. A fire engine, followed by an ambulance and a police car. There were people running in all directions, firemen carrying long black hoses, paramedics in green and white with green and white boxes under their arms. There were a few police officers too, each of them wearing flat police caps with a black and white check band. The outstretched arms were interlinked and formed a chain to hold back the onlookers who were keen on getting a closer look at the car. And everything I'd done seemed to be forgotten. This was okay by me actually, because all I wanted to do was go home. The trouble was, in all the confusion, I wasn't sure where I was. "You need to cross the road again," a voice said, one I didn't recognise. "You need to cross the road." I turned around. I even went back into the street. But apart from all the people gathered around the burning car, I couldn't see anyone. "You need to get on the 919B, not the 919D, the invisible person said. Then the red bus came along. It was almost the same colour as the fire engines, and it fought its way through the traffic before stopping beside me. When I got home, Mum was waiting by our yellow front door. "How did it go, Max?" she asked. "Eventful," I replied, but nothing else. I took my shoes off and went straight to the room at the back of my house. It's not a big house, not in comparison to our old one, but it's big enough. I mean, there's 3 bedrooms upstairs, mine's the smallest, and there's also a bathroom. Underneath the staircase is a narrow corridor which leads to a small room that used to be a garage. It's my room, and to make it my own, I painted each wall in a different colour. Red, orange, white and green. Apparently, people have told Mum they think it's quite artistic. The real reason is that when I found a few tins of paint, there was only a little bit of colour in each tin. Next to the sofa in my room is where I keep my box of multicoloured building blocks. And after closing the door, I started to build. I hadn't got very far when I had this odd feeling that someone else was in the room. I turned around. I even checked behind the sofa and behind the curtains. In the end, the odd feeling went away, and I carried on building the castle. It was almost complete when I heard the same voice as the one I'd heard at the bus stop. "Close your eyes," it said. "Why?" For the second time, there was no reply. I was starting to feel a bit nervous. Mum has always told me not to speak to strangers. Then I remembered how the invisible person had helped me to get on the right bus. As I closed my eyes, the room started to spin. At first, I couldn't see anything, but as the darkness turned to grey and then into white, a few images started to appear. It started with a few clouds floating past me and the occasional patch of blue sky. As the clouds separated, I noticed the distinctive shape of a castle below. I began gliding towards it as though I was flying in some sort of dream. I was almost close enough to land on top of the castle tower, but then I started to go the other way. I tried to stop myself, forced my way down, but no matter what I did, the castle moved further and further away until it disappeared behind the clouds. And when I opened my eyes, I'd returned to the room at the back of my house. Max has just started the game in his imagination. My name's Kevin Brooke. I'm a story knight. I hope you've enjoyed my story.